Well, they're going to probably have to be extraordinarily good. We saw what happened with Microsoft already, which was the numbers were great across the board for the most part for Microsoft, and yet the stock went lower and continued to go lower after they gave the guidance that they gave. So I think that's part of the elements of what we're going to be looking at today, Scott, is not only the earnings, but what does the guidance look like for many of these different companies that we're talking about right now, the power 4 or 5 that we focus on all the time. Apple, I think when you really look at what's going on there, it's still about Apple One and the bundling package. I think that's huge. But it goes back to the idea that this was once a hardware company that was massive, right? And the hardware component was huge. And that has pulled back over the years. And that's been a good thing because the reliance on that aspect of Apple, it's still there, of course, but it's less. And because of that, you've got wearables, you've got services, you've got all these different other areas where Apple's going to be going to in the future as well. But you've got the growth area and the area where you've got the most margin, nearly double the margin in those areas. So I think for Apple specifically, I think that as long as they can give something positive in terms of guidance, we're going to see that stock actually push up towards 120. It's going to actually depend, I think, on the guidance, though, because I think the numbers will still stand up for themselves.
Josh, how high is the bar? Pete rightly mentions Microsoft. Microsoft's quarter was really good. Stock sold off right after the number. These stocks have run up a lot into the prints.
Yeah, so I think in the case of Apple, it's probably not that important what they say about this past quarter, because I think it's really going to be about iPhone 12 and any color that Tim Cook can provide about demand going into that launch. So iPhone 12, iPhone Pro, they were kind of debuted earlier this month. We think that there are about 350 million iPhones currently that are in the window for an upgrade, which is a very big number out of a 900 million installed base, according to some analysts. And those are the types of things that I think investors are really going to be focusing on. I also think in the case of Apple, you just have to say to yourself, all right, this stock is up 53% year to date, even with the recent pullback. This stock is up more than 50% on the year. So let's say they come out with a report and the stock sells off on that the way Microsoft did. You still have this massive catalyst ahead of you. You're not going to get those numbers in real life until, let's say, late January, early February when they report the fourth quarter. So I think it's reasonable to say that maybe this stock is stuck in a range. And if you're a shareholder, you've already done so well this year that you just kind of have to shut your mouth and take it. So that's the way I'm thinking about Apple going into the number.
Steve, Katie Huberty over at Morgan Stanley today says iPhone shipments suggest better setup heading into the quarter, heading into the number. Goldman today, the biggest question for us heading into the earnings is whether the company decides to give guidance for the Q1 of their fiscal year. Who's at risk, do you think, of disappointing tonight? Any of the big four?
Well, I think if you take a look at Alphabet, they've traditionally been the one that's disappointed. The web ad numbers that came out of Microsoft were a little soft. That was on Bing. You could see some softness in that from Google and maybe Facebook as well, although I think Facebook has a stronger franchise. For Google, it's always been about their spending. They've spent too much. But the good news about guidance from Apple is don't expect it. They didn't give guidance for the current quarter. I don't see them giving guidance for the next quarter. And as far as the phone shipments, that's really going forward. Sure, the numbers may look better for the fourth quarter, but if you look at the numbers that come out of Asia, Taiwan in particular, Hanhai, which also is known as Foxconn, they were down 20% for the month of September. That's not unusual when you transition to a new phone because Apple stops producing the old phones in the size they're producing it. And the question is, to Josh's point, which is absolutely correct, is this the kind of market where investors are going to forgive a potential miss in this quarter and look forward to the future for the 12 shipment, which I still maintain will be Apple's biggest product launch in years and maybe ever?